Hello Prep 2. Now, the competition for designing a bridge. Now, if you've done any research at home, you would know who the winners of that competition are. Now, I'm just going to double check their names. The winner is Horace Jones and an engineer called John Wolfe Barry, who were chosen to help with the construction. And of course, by now, I'm sure most of you will have worked out that the winning design was constructed and built in London, and it is now known as Tower Bridge. I wonder if any of you have actually been there in real life. I've seen it, but I don't know if I've ever even been over it. Maybe that's a thing to put on the bucket list for the future. Now, it can be disappointing, can't it, if we don't win something that we really wanted to win, like a competition. And it can also be a bit disappointing when things don't work out the first time. Now, I want you to think about when you were designing and building your bridges. How did it go? Did it all work out fine and perfect first time? I know that mine certainly didn't. It took me quite a few attempts to get all of my mechanisms to work properly. I know that when I was pulling on the string for my pulley to get the bascules to open, that it took me a while to get the configuration right, because I started off with 2 pieces of string and then I worked out that I needed just one to connect them all. And it was really frustrating, and I was getting a little bit grumpy with myself because I wanted it to work so badly and it just didn't work first time. But I got there in the end. It's still not perfect and I would like to do better. But the important thing is that I tried and I worked it out and I carried on going even when it went wrong. Now that reminds me of a book, and it's a book that I absolutely love. And it's a book called Rosie Revere, Engineer. And we're going to read a little bit of this book today. Rosie Revere, Engineer. This is the story of Rosie Revere, who dreamed of becoming a great engineer. In Lila Greer's classroom at Blue River Creek, young Rosie sat shyly, not daring to speak. That's Rosie there. But when no one saw her, she peeked in the trash for treasures to add to her engineer's stash. And late at night, Rosie rolled up her sleeves and built in her hideaway under the eaves. Wow, look at this. Alone in her attic, the moon high above, dear Rosie made gadgets and gizmos she loved. And when she grew sleepy, she hid her machines far under the bed where they'd never be seen. When Rosie was young, she had not been so shy. She worked with her hair swooping over one eye and made fine inventions for uncles and aunts, a hot dog dispenser and helium pants. Oh my goodness me, look at those. The uncle she loved most was Zookeeper Fred. She made him a hat to keep snakes off his head, from parts of a fan and some cheddar cheese spray, which everyone knows keeps the pythons away. And when it was finished, young Rosie was proud, but Fred slapped his knee and chuckled out loud. He laughed till he wheezed and his eyes filled with tears, all to the horror of Rosie Revere, who stood there embarrassed, perplexed and dismayed. She looked at the cheese hat and then looked away. I love it, Fred hooted. Oh, truly I do. But Rosie Revere knew that could not be true. She stuck the cheese hat on the back of her shelf and after that day kept her dreams to herself. We're going to leave it there today and I'll read you a little bit more tomorrow. I want you to think now like Rosie. So you will have seen her in this book and you will have a worksheet that you can have a look at. And on your worksheet, there is a picture of Rosie that's taken from the book. Now, you don't have to use the worksheet. You can do it on paper or on a whiteboard. The choice is up to you. But what you need to do today is you need to get inside Rosie's head. I want you to think just like Rosie. There is also a word bank that you can have a look at. And the word bank has got some words that end in the suffixes ment and ness, and they will help you to think about how Rosie is feeling at various points in the story. You could say, I feel great excitement when I am making an invention. You could say, my heart fills with great sadness and darkness when things go wrong. So what you need to do now is have a go at writing some sentences using some of those words from the word bank. And I'm looking forward to seeing how you think Rosie is feeling inside her head. You can do it, as I said, on a worksheet, or you can do it in your book or on a whiteboard. The choice is yours. But think about Rosie and how she would be feeling. You can always watch the bit back where I read part of the book for you. And come and see us again tomorrow and we can read a bit more of the story.